Hello everyone, welcome back to Podcast on Wheelz episode number 60. As we said on today's episode, please sit back and enjoy the show. So, as we're starting season 4, we're starting season 4 today, guys. Is that insane? Season 4 is finally making its first debut, and what a better way to start season 4 with the rain in the back. And a creepy story. We promise you we did not plan that it was going to rain. It's raining now. But a while back ago, over a year ago, I don't know if you recall a podcast that we did a long time ago. We were talking about, is someone stalking Donny?
Yep.
Which we had told this story a long time ago, and it was about someone who had stalked Donny.
Mm-hmm.
We will hopefully refresh some things in y'all's minds about this story before we tell it, and we're going to tell you one, or maybe, I don't know if I had previously mentioned it in the Dad episode, but we're going to talk about a stalker of mine. Today we are talking about stalkers and pet peeves. Start with stalkers, please.
Okay, so I think in March or April of last year, me and my friend, we were just kind of hanging out, and like we always do, we're always in the lunchroom, and we're always at the specific table, and we just kind of talk and chill for about half an hour, because that's how long our lunch lasts. And I was sitting there just fine, and this random guy comes up to our table, says, he seems nice, he says, "Hey, can I sit with y'all?" And I was like, sure. I mean, I wouldn't say no to the guy. So,
and previously, we must say this, he did not know this person at all. They had never talked, they had never exchanged anything before.
Nope.
So this was the first, mind you, this was the first interaction with him.
Yep.
Not great.
So he says, "Can I sit with y'all?" And he sits on the opposite side of the table. So just enough to hear us or be close to us in eye view, but nothing crazy like right beside us. So, me and him are talking because, I'm normally friendly to people when they come up to me or just talk to me and want to ask me a little question. I've had awkward interactions, and I'm always a pretty nice guy, so I just talk with him. We get to kind of know each other very little, like we don't know personal information or anything like that. So I'm just kind of talking to him, and Flora is not really talking to him too much. She's kind of saying a couple things, but it's not really talking to him much because she's just a little bit more shy around people than me. So understandable, and he's random, so we don't know him. So lunch ends, he doesn't follow us or anything. He just kind of goes about his way. We're like, bye, have a good day. And me and Flora just go to history class. And this was in junior year. But me and Flora just go to history class. We're fine, we're chilling, we're good. And then nothing happens for the rest of the day. We then enter the next day, back at lunch. He hasn't done
Can I interrupt? I'm super sorry.
It's okay.
But it's raining hard outside. We're gonna... It was never raining. If we be quiet, look.
That's pretty alright.
It was never raining that hard before he started telling this. Like mere minutes before he started doing this podcast, it started drizzling, and now it's pouring.
Alright.
We are 4 minutes
Where was I at? The second day. Oh.
Yeah, the second day.
So nothing had happened. It's fine. So the rest of the day was fine and normal and chilling. Damn. Sorry, the fact that it's just pouring,
like profusely pouring.
God damn. Alright. Let's check on the weather. Anyway, I was just kind of chilling. Nothing really happened the second day. He came to us at lunch, but this time, instead of sitting eye view,
on the second day?
Yes. He sits right next to me, quite close. And I was like, okay, he's moved. And we just were talking, and I just had this question. I said, hey, odd question, but what do you think about the LGBTQ plus community? I said, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Clearly making it obvious that if he was uncomfortable, he never had to answer that, and we could just move on to a different subject. And telling him that I was bisexual, and you had a husband and wife and stuff like that, he started
He
suddenly.
told him prior to asking him that.
Yes, and he started being quite loud. Oh, I hate them. I hate the LGBTQ plus community. They're so, I don't know, they're so annoying. I hate them. I don't like them. He started screaming that right after I told him.
And it's not that we're biased and do not like people because of their opinion. Everyone is allowed to have their own.
But that was...
Yeah, everyone is allowed to have their own valid opinion. But once you start, like, hysterically screaming about it, after we just told you, you know, we were bi, we had a wife and husband, you know, that's a little weird. I wasn't involved in this situation at all. Just so y'all know. This is Donny's personal story that we've told before.
Yep. So basically, me and Flo started getting a little weird out. Like, okay, that was a little weird, and you know, I kind of just brushed it off, and we were just talking, and then he said, "Hey, can I walk with y'all to class?" And I was like, "Sure,
why not?
We're going the same way anyway. It's gonna be quite impossible not to walk with us, apparently." And so me and Flo and everyone were going upstairs, whatever. We were going through the elevator, obviously, but during that, my husband usually likes to, back then when he had the function to, was grip on Flo's book bag so he wouldn't lose her up or while we were going up or whatever, because you know the hallways are tricky and the
there was something that
and there's so many people, so we didn't want to get lost in the crowd while we were walking through the hallways. But as William was doing that, he has sensation on his shoulders, so he can feel his shoulders, unlike me. But I could feel my shoulders at the time.
At the time,
yes.
Yeah.
So, when William was gripping on Flora's book bag, he didn't say anything. He was really quiet for a long time while we were walking. He didn't say a word almost. And all of a sudden, William had felt a cold hand,
like a
kind of rubbing-like motion on his shoulder. Like, okay, that was fucking weird.
But okay.
Obviously, his eyes lit up and was like, why is he touching my shoulder? And so, obviously, we were a little weirded out and creeped out.
So, okay, that
was fucking
very weird.
And, you know, we just kind of, after that, we just kind of ignored it.
We kind of sort of shrugged it off.
Not really.
Not really shrugged it off, but like, you know.
He told Flora when we got in and demonstrated the touching, and she was visibly disturbed, as I was and William was. Because that's so fucking creepy. No. Do not touch someone's shoulder like stroking, like, please don't do that. And so then the third day, we were having conversations, and all of a sudden, this day was the creepiest. He had asked, out of fucking nowhere, "Hey, what if I saw your dead bodies in my basement?" What? I kid you not, under the lines of, "What if I saw your bodies in my basement?" Or, "What if you saw bodies in your basement?" Who in their right mind
ask that type of fucking question?
Ask that. And me and Flora obviously got visibly concerned.
I know.
And I asked him straight away.
What?
That was a little creepy to ask, right? And he said, "Oh, I was just wondering." Nope, never wonder about that, sir.
Please stop.
Creepy.
And understandably, like, we know some curious people.
I have curiosity. Sometimes I don't know when to stop talking, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, some people can have curious questions, and I understand from a curious standpoint, like, but, like, bodies in a base, like...
That's specific.
Maybe if y'all were talking about a scary story, or, like, it was, like, a scary truth or dare.
Out of the fucking blue.
Maybe something like that. I would understand that maybe question. But out of the blue, you barely met this person, they've already touched you in a weird way. What if you found dead bodies in my basement? Or what do you mean? And that would be so. Like, thankfully, I have never been in that type of situation where someone has asked a creepy question. However, like, I would find that really weird, especially for a first time.
Not a
question.
friend.
And it's not like I've known this person for years. I've barely been knowing him for hours at best.
Yeah.
Because we only got 30-minute lunches. Yeah.
So, I obviously was visibly fucking scared. I was like,
disturbed.
Disturbed at the least.
At the very least.
Yeah. So, and then I think throughout the conversation, he had said one point that caught me and Flora fucking caught off guard. It's like, I have the same bus stop as Flora.
Okay.
That's fine.
That part was fine.
I watched her from the bus stop in her hat. What? And he said this with confidence too. He was like, "Oh yeah, I watched her, going out her house from the bus stop."
What?
Well,
I beg your finest fucking pardon.
What? Okay, what compelled you to say that to us? I'm a comfy guy, but dude, please stop. And
that
me and Flora,
like I can only imagine.
Immediately after he said that, me and Flora fucking turned our heads right toward each other. I was like, okay, that was creepy. That was concerning. I was like, why do you... we immediately got quiet, and we're like, I'm
just kind of laughing at Donny stutter.
I know. We were visibly fucking concerned at him. It's like, okay... Why did you say that?
Like, why?
You say this thing so quickly and out of pocket.
He's like, I see Flora from our house.
From the bus stop. Wow, you're actively looking.
Right, what?
What?
Because if I was ever in a situation...
You have some ill intent on watching.
I know, right? No, if I was ever in that situation, to the point that I was, I was a bus stop. I was a bus stop.
Yep.
I was at the bus stop, and I would hear, someone's watching you.
What?
Oh,
get visually disturbed.
Someone you don't...
From your house,
No, hold up. No, let me... Look, if I was ever in that situation where I was at a bus stop and someone randomly comes up to me, someone I know, someone's watching you that you don't know. What?
Okay.
Until you get on the bus stop and we'll never speak to you, but we'll look at you.
What?
Who is he? I don't know. I've never met him. What the fuck?
Bitch bomb.
I would be so terrified. And without someone acknowledging that to Flora, he was doing that. Like, I can only imagine how scary that was.
I can only imagine what he would do if he was on my bus stop.
Oh my god.
He would have, with the vibes he was given, he would have done that exact same shit. I know damn well. See, and so me and Flora were obviously visibly concerned, and he just kept following us. And then one day, I think on the 4th day or something, I was getting my salad at lunch like I normally do.
Yeah, like we normally do.
And he's never met me from the lunchroom. He'd always just be sitting at our table when we come there.
I was like, okay.
But I was getting my salad, and I felt the sense like somebody was watching me in a sense. I turned around, and mere 10 feet away, he was kind of behind a pole, hidden almost, but he was staring at me, standing still.
Doing nothing.
Dude, why?
Why
are you staring at me? See, that was terrifying. And I sat there and I was like, okay, where the fuck did he come from?
Because you had never seen him there before.
No. He had all the joy in the world just fucking watching me for God knows how long.
You didn't know how long he was there.
Were you in there the whole time I was in the line for 10 minutes? That's creepy. You're never here before me.
What?
So I was obviously visibly disturbed. And I was like, you know what? And we weren't talking as much to him. And,
definitely not as much on the first day.
Nope. Flora, shut off, completely. Nope, not talking to him.
She was never talking to him?
Nope. Never.
And
didn't say a single word.
Did anything happen after that situation? Essentially, that meet up with him?
Eventually, instead of going inside, me and Floor completely moved outside to an area I don't think he would have known. And he kind of spotted us one day, and just kind of hang out with friends kind of near them. And I swear to God, I think less than a year ago, he had pointed right directly at us from mere feet away and was talking audibly almost something about me.
What?
I never heard what he said, but I was like, Floor, he's pointing at me. And Floor looked and visibly saw him looking at us. And she was like, oh, that's a little weird. And his whole friend group started looking at us and started laughing in a way. I'm like, okay, why are y'all looking at me from afar? That's weird. Stop doing that. Yeah, I was visibly weird. I was visibly weirded out. Let's just
weirded out, yeah. Weirded out for sure.
And then he eventually stopped, and he hung out with a bunch of friends. Like, I mean, a whole fucking table full. Like, damn, in that little time. And he just stopped talking to me for entirely. And sometimes he would come up to us in the hall and be like, hi, Donny and Floor. And Floor would not talk to him, like, hi. And shut all communication. And that one day, when Floor ignored him, he was like, Floor, why aren't you talking to me? And he was kind of staring at me, acting like I would know fucking something.
Because you never, like, personally had phone-to-phone contact with him, or really much of any, like, I don't know, any reason to be talking to him.
But over the course of months, like, after all those creepy whatever the fuck questions he asked,
I don't know.
I watched your friend from, the bus stop.
Like, what the fuck?
And then stuff like that. And then he just started cussing out Floor entirely.
Like,
He started. He was like, why aren't y'all talking to me? And he started cussing us out and got creepily defensive very, very fast.
But I believe after all those moments, nothing else had happened.
No, you had discussed that. He was still messing with Floor.
Oh, yeah.
Behind my back, you never mentioned it.
And
my dad's a dude who was being creepy to us.
Look, this was the reason why I had never mentioned it.
And she brought it back up. And
Simply
I was like,
because, so this happened many months after the event. And, I was
after he had stopped leaving me alone because he didn't really know where I was. I had moved up to senior grade, and I was often doing meetings and
doing stuff, other stuff,
higher advanced classes than maybe a sophomore would be. So
he's now a junior, I think.
No, I think he's still a sophomore. I think I don't know. He's maybe biggest grade, maybe junior classified.
Yeah,
I don't think so, but I had gone up to higher classes and stuff, and maybe he was in halls that Floor was or whatever, or they had the same lunch with him or something. I don't know, but I very rarely, I don't even fucking see him in the halls, and now I'm graduated, so he has no point in messing with me now, I hope.
So here's what,
no.
So here's what happened. Me and Floor were at lunch, and, lunch had ended. We gone through our 30-minute typical lunch, and we're like, okay, let's go back to class now.
What?
And me and Floor have the same path to class, but we don't, like, her classroom is upstairs, but we walk the same exact path. I'm just downstairs, she's upstairs. And I don't know if you know the layout, y'all don't, but Donny, you know how, like, there's like a little stairwell right beside the stairs that go up to the health science stuff?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we go to lunch. And from that, we go up to another bit of stairs that leads to Miss Bresser's room. I will mention Miss Bresser more later in that video. Or in this video. That video.
How's it been 19 minutes there?
I know. We go to our classroom, or we're going to our classroom, and he meets her up. I had no idea that was a stalker. I had no clue. And she's like, hi, Floor. I was like,
the accent.
And I was like, oh.
That damn accent. I still vividly in my head.
And I was like, oh. Like, he knows. Like, maybe this is Floor's friend, and this was my thought process because, I wasn't thinking.
You were actually
I barely finished lunch. My main focus was get to Miss Blusher's because she's pretty strict about time.
Yep.
And so, I heard them kind of discussing things. I was like, how are you doing? Like,
it was really nice.
I have no friends. I'm talking to people, like, or
what?
I don't know. He was like, oh, I have no friends. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Have you made new ones? Yeah, some, but really none.
Oh.
And so I was like, okay, like, that's a weird
What the
conversation.
hell would he have? Okay,
But,
sorry.
yeah, and I kind of...
She never tells me about this stuff. I'm like, Doc.
Because it happened one time.
Like, Doc, I want you to know, that was my stalker. Okay, maybe he was not a stalker. He was just a creepy old dude.
Let me tell you. Before, I had never known before that was Donny's stalker. So there was no way of me telling, like, oh, some dude randomly met Flora. Who? Like, maybe Donny didn't know him. I never knew that was Donny's stalker at the time. And so I was like, okay, it's a random conversation. I'm not going to really tune in. I wasn't really tuning in, to be honest. I was full from lunch, and I was only mainly focusing about getting on class to time. And then it happened again. A few days later, or maybe a few weeks later, we were walking up the stairs to that classroom again. And he randomly appeared on the fucking stairwell. Whoa, where did you come from?
It's like you don't even see him walking up. He appears, I tell you, appears out of nowhere.
Okay, and I stared at him. I was like, okay, I don't know when the fuck he came, but okay. And then he says, hi, Floor, again.
Again.
That's him, right? And then Donny previously, I think it was around that time, where Donny started talking about him again. He has an accent.
Right.
He randomly appeared out of nowhere. Is that him? And you realize he was right suddenly clicked in my head. I heard the accent. He came out of nowhere. He was talking about having no...
is he mentioning Donny and Floor?
That's him. No wonder why Floor looks so uncomfortable.
I told you, he made us physically uncomfortable. In the first
interaction...
He said some shit that...
yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're good. But I'm just trying to get my point across.
I'm sorry.
In the first interaction, Floor didn't look uncomfortable. Because I was, again, just focused on one thing.
It was a tiny baby.
Yeah, it was a baby, tiny interaction. But on the stairwell, he was saying something to Floor. I don't know what it was.
God knows what it was.
And I relatively found it harmless. It didn't sound too creepy. But then it was halfway through that conversation, I had realized he was the stalker.
No.
And he read, in the stairwell, something to Floor, and I can never remember what he screamed, because she couldn't hear him.
He screamed?
Yes. He went, ah!
In what tone?
That. A word.
What the hell?
I'm sorry, Floor. I was joking.
What did you...
And Floor...
Was that directed to both of us? What?
Her. It was to her. And Floor, you're good. And while we were walking, he went upstairs, like more upstairs, and then we walked through the middle. And I was like, what did he say to you? And she didn't really, and this was months ago, so I cannot remember.
Damn it.
Because I cannot, and I wish I would, but then apparently things must have gotten in the way, or I must have had a stressful day, so I forgot. So I wish I could remember what he screamed to her. But it seemed like to be a joke, but she was...
if he's screaming that
yeah, she seemed visibly very
upset.
Uncomfortable. And she's like, you laugh funky.
He said something visibly and audibly concerned.
I know. After that, I said, are you okay? I asked her if everything was okay, and she just slightly didn't really respond, and she just said bye. And so I was like, okay, that was very fucking weird. And then after that, no more interaction has happened. I see him in the hallways, but he never interacts with me or anyone else. Maybe he says, hey, bro, to his friends, but never with me. So I've never had his personal interaction with him, but I've seen him interact with Floor only 2 times.
And it was creepy.
Maybe other 2 times, but it was just conversation and nothing had happened. And there was, how's your day been? How's summer? Normal, typical conversations. So, yeah, that was the only real moment that stuck out like a big-ass thorn. I was like, what the fuck?
You would talk to yourself and say, that was weird.
Yeah, that was really freakishly weird.
Anyway, I haven't had any other things, and as I'm graduated right now, it's not really healthy at the time to bring it. Anyway, so, nothing else had happened. me and Flo, I'm assuming we're both safe and everything's fine. And he was just a really, really, when I say stalker, he was definitely weird and followed me everywhere I went, and just touched my shoulder. Or what if I found bodies in my What?
And that's like the creepiest. Like
him screaming about him hating the LGBTQ plus community and looking straight at me, him touching my shoulder William's shoulder with his bare coldest fucking hands ever. Oh my god, they had no heat to them. It was so creepy. And then just there is at least 5 to 6 big scary moments to question about.
Yeah.
You gotta ask somehow, Dave.
You gotta think about it.
Just think about it.
Really evaluate it.
We didn't evaluate enough, apparently. What the fuck? That's creepy. Anyway, that's my creepy stalker story. I'm sorry that it took half the podcast up. My fucking head.
And so, I'm now going to explain mine. So, my stalker story, it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it wasn't as creepy as Donny's, however, it still had the stalkerish vibe. So, it was
creepy.
Yeah, it's still creepy. I'm not saying it's, not...
But mine was a little different.
Yeah, so this happened all the way in my sophomore year of college. I had barely was injured with my SCI, and I had barely woken up. So around May. I want to say, but it wasn't really... Okay, let me explain. I believe I was still in my coma, so my wife Emmy dealt with it. She always has explained her feelings about this, so I'll tell it. So it was around my time, or around the time I was injured and I was still in a coma. And Emmy was able-bodied at this time. She had years before she became disabled, or paralyzed at least. And so it happened out of nowhere. We would always go the specific route to our second period gym. And so, we would take this route, and this is a normal common route, and I had not known this man. This is not the same man as Donny. He looks completely different.
Yep.
And I don't even know his name.
I don't know his name.
And so, this random boy, my wife...
He's a junior, so he was a freshman
Believe
at the time
me.
while Doc was a sophomore.
Yeah, when I say I'm meaning my wife. So I'm just telling this in like a story of mine, but it's also my wife's because I later fall into that story. So one day, while my wife was walking to class, she suddenly sees these groups of boys start huddling right near her classroom, or right halfway there.
Harmless joke, I guess.
And there are just a bunch of boys that might say something mockery to me, and I can just deal with it. But then she starts seeing them pull up a photo. My wife specifically, has never seen these boys in her life. She hadn't seen them in freshman year, and this was the first time she was encountering them. What she didn't think was they had a photo of her.
That means they were at a whole different school. Hello? Okay, no, how did they get that photo? Bye. So that
makes it more terrifying.
They were
at a completely different school when me and my wife were in freshman year. Then in randomly sophomore, maybe halfway through, I don't really know the time or the date, sadly, but it was in sophomore year, I know that. And so, she wasn't never expecting a photo of herself to appear on their phone. No. She had never once saw them on this living fucking school before, so she was like, that's weird, who are they? And so they come up and kind of touch her shoulder. This is the first interaction she's ever having with them. Hey, is this you?
Yes, but how the fuck did you get that photo?
Yeah. Oh. And walks away.
Alright.
So my wife is left there with many questions. Number 1, why the fuck am I on their phone? Number 2, who are these people? And number 3, why the hell did they touch my shoulder?
Yep.
That's a little funky and creepy.
Yep.
But let's not think about that, shall we? And so we leave it like that. And they do this for a couple of days, and then suddenly stop.
Alright.
Okay? Maybe their funny mockery joke, which is already creepy, has stopped.
Nope.
And then they stop and stop and stop until I wake up. I was randomly awake. I think I had only been awake for a few months. And at this point, I was finally regaining a little bit of my speech back. But I would not really exchange any words with them. I would know by what I remembered. They had finally stopped until early junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And very early, like the tail end, like August something. Like really early into the junior year. Not like months in, 1 month in. And by this point, I had barely gained any function, maybe was able to drive my chair, something like that. It's really hard to remember the timeline because I don't really know exactly what month. So we're walking to class again. Ironically, we have gym again. We had advanced PE twice in, really enough, the same exact 2 years. Because, we wanted to take it a lot because we didn't want to take any more language classes. So,
like hard classes.
Yeah, so we just took it again, and, this was at the time where the track was maybe slightly built, or we just used track.
More often.
And, we chill there, and we sit there.
Yep.
That's it. And we're like, okay, nothing's going to happen because I haven't seen these boys in over 5 months. We waited summer, we waited a few months, but then I saw them regrouping again.
Back.
Why are they back?
After months.
So they would stop that gimmick for months, and I hadn't shared anything, and that was to the point I went to a private Snapchat account. I was never public again.
Bye.
Because in junior, I had stopped being public. I really had. I don't use Snapchat now, barely. And so I was like, they better not have that photo of me on their phone.
They probably... They
And then when they showed me a different one.
What different one?
Different. I looked so much younger in that one. Like,
what?
It wasn't like a child photo, like a child, but
that would be creepy.
But I looked, that would be fucking creepy. But I looked young, like younger, like still in my freshman year or maybe lingering in sophomore, the same photo. But it wasn't the same photo that I had previously seen. It was like a sick one now.
Okay. Then what was the first one?
It was like a photo of me smiling with like devil horns. I still remember it. Classic Snapchat filter. And so this one, it said, I'm sick with like a peace emoji or something. And so I was like, okay. Like, I haven't seen that one before. And I stopped going public. Did you screenshot a bunch of these and save them? What the fuck? And keep in mind, the hugest backstory, you're thinking, but anyone can have a photo of anyone. I don't know these people. I never had spoken a word. They were at a completely different school when I entered.
Yep. And I don't know these people either. I've never really spoken a word besides like, hey, or that's it. I don't know them at all, and I don't even know their names. So it's not like they would have back history from me and then contact Dawkins somehow. Is this you? No.
But they go looking for me.
Bye. That's so creepy.
I know. Ooh, it's fucking terrifying. And people,
mine was just a tad creepy.
But I know, but mine's so creepy.
It's very right.
To fast forward. They keep showing me this. They show me 90 days straight. No stopping. Every single day. The same shoulder touch until I finally say, fuck off. I was tired of it. They had done this for 3 consecutive months straight. I contacted admin. I contacted someone else. Nothing was being done.
At all.
And they were creeping
me. I was even in the administration office ready to back her up with evidence because I also saw them coming up to dust her. Like, even if I was walking with her, they would just dust out her, would show the photo of dust her. They wouldn't say a word to me and wouldn't even look me in the eye and just talk to Doc as if I wasn't even there.
I know.
And I was talking with administration with her, and administration said, yeah, we'll be out there by like 9 o'clock when your class. No one was out there. They never did shit. They both completely ignored us and didn't believe us. Or if they did believe us, they didn't care enough. No one was out there for days.
They never came. They
never came because they're like, yeah, we'll be out there, a couple days. Nope.
Like Mr. G will be out there. Nope.
I forgot.
Never arrived. Never showed up. And so I was like tired. I was like, please. Like I wanted to say please, but I just said fuck off. It was before I had said fuck off. I had just walked away and I never answered this is you. And so they walked it, is this you? And they walked away and they said fuck you with the middle finger at me as if I had done something wrong. So I said fuck you back and my wife stuck up the middle finger. Granted, definitely not the best thing to say, but he was stalking me for 4 to 5 months straight. What the?
And he has personalized saved photos of you for years. Bye. Boy, you creepy, get out here. That's creepy.
I know.
How do you go to sleep at night knowing you have someone's random ass, you don't know them, you never say a word to them except, is this you? And you have them saved personally in your own personal cell phone for years. How do you sleep at night?
How do I sleep at night?
How does a victim sleep at night? How the hell? Bye.
And so I let that. I let it. I don't know. Then he finally stops after we both said fuck off. He finally stops. And we're like, okay, maybe I washed him off for good. Maybe he's gone.
Maybe no.
And then in my senior year,
I'm
eating lunch with Floor, and I had not seen this man in probably months, if not close to a year. Yeah, close over a year. And so I was like, okay, he's gone. Obviously,
he's gone for good.
And I'd see him roaming around the school, but he would never contact me. He would never do anything with me.
He wouldn't do anything to me at all.
No, he would never do anything. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'll just let him be.
Chill.
If he's not doing anything to me, I'm just gonna let him be. And so I just sit there and we're sitting here at lunch, and I hear this dude's voice again.
He's close.
Fuck.
So, that was creepy.
And they order a salad. We were months into this new lunch, and he had never ordered a salad ever.
I know.
My dude has never ordered the salad.
Like my dog, why are you right there?
Until he found out I was at lunch.
Yep.
Because he would typically sit at a very, 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 very back table, and we would not see him. Until one day he saw me and decided to order a salad, and he didn't actually order one. He came up to me and said, hi, are you Doc? And said one of our friends' name in a weirdly weird name. That's not her name. And, pronounced it wrong.
Yeah.
Not me and my wife's, because me and my wife's are almost impossible to mispronounce. And so I was like, okay, that was, and I was like, oh, fuck, he's doing it again. So, I'm pretty sure he had, he never had the photos again because, again, I had deleted that Snapchat account. I deleted 2 previous other Snapchat accounts simply because I don't really deal with Snapchat a lot. And now I have a new one, but it's completely private, and I only chat friends on it.
Yep.
And I do not share my location. And so I left it. I was like, okay, that's really weird. I hope he doesn't come back. And then the next day he came back. And the next day he came back. And he did the same shit. It wasn't as creepy as it was before, but I hated how he came up to me again because he was doing it again and again. And when Floor was out, because she had to take her puppy to the vet, hi, oh, fuck, I'm alone. Nope. And he said, oh, where's Floor? Out. She had a appointment. Do you have her phone number?
What?
No.
You're her ex-cousin, get it yourself.
Hold up. And I said, no. Do you have your phone number? Yes?
Yes, but
I'm not telling you. Oh. Well, if you see Flora again, ask her I want to see her number. You're her fucking younger ex's cousin. Please get out. I never said that, but I was like, okay.
You wish you would have said that.
And then the next day, Flora comes back, and I said, he asked you for your phone number. What? And she, why? And it wasn't at this time that I learned that was actually Flora's ex's brother, Flora's ex's cousin. Yeah, that was his cousin. And I hadn't known that before, and I said, you know him? And he said, but wait, do you know him? And I said, no. And she realized this complete stranger was stalking me. Because she thought I knew him. So maybe the conversations we were having were relevant.
Oh, hell no.
Until she realized
you don't know him.
Know him?
What'd she do?
She was like, oh, that's creepy. Because I had told him this was a random boy. He started stalking me in sophomore. Sophomore?
Your face scared me.
Sophomore?
But you're in senior.
And she realized we were in senior year and she had never dated him until junior.
Dated
her ex. The man that was previously her ex. She had realized he was stalking you before I dated. So he had stalked me well before they started dating.
Before he knew ex-cousin. What? Then where does the ex-cousin come in?
Her ex.
Yeah, why is it a cousin?
Because he's his cousin.
Because he's...
Family relatives, that's... The ex that she used to date in junior year, he was the cousin of the ex. And he had came to that school after that person graduated.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
I guess so.
Like we have a cousin, and if someone were dating us, we would be the ex, and that would be our cousin.
Okay.
And so I was like, that was very weird. So do you understand the concept? I'm just making sure Donny understands before I go any further. So Flora had known him less than I had.
And you still didn't know him.
I still never known his name.
That's so creepy.
And Flora had realized this right after I told him he's been stalking me since sophomore year.
Yeah.
And he was like, wait, I didn't even know him. You didn't?
Oh, shit.
Fuck, I still don't know the damn bitch, and he's still following me.
Creepy.
And so she had soon realized that the stranger that had been coming up to our table was actually someone I never knew. And that she had known him quicker, even though he had been meeting me longer.
Boy.
And so she was really like, oh, that's fucking creepy.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Because she had really quickly found out that was actually terrifying, because not knowing someone and them suddenly having a fake conversation with you almost every single time they would meet you and have a photo of you on their phone. And they said, he barely has a photo of me on his phone. Okay, what the fuck?
What the hell, dude?
And so she found it really creepy, and she was just like, oh, that's very terrifying. I don't, like, she just found that idea really creepy. And the fact that he knew, like, that he was having conversations with me.
Yeah.
And it didn't start getting really creepy until, me and Flora had walked back from her lunch again, and it was the end of third. I was waiting for, and typically Miss Besser opens the door a few seconds before the bell rings. I was like, okay. And I start seeing them, hear them laughing outside.
Okay, they're all
that fucking close to the door. And keep in mind, they had never gone to my third period before the same day. Me and Flora were there again, and he had asked, what's the phone number? And so, they weren't there. And they weren't there ever previously. And so he randomly met me, and he was like, he didn't say a word because, here, let me back it up. It was the end of third, Miss Besser opens the door. And she opens the classroom door. I'm ready to leave. There's a few seconds before the bell rings. We're getting to fourth, about end of the day. I see them laughing, and they suddenly notice I'm there. as they would presume, and they suddenly turn their heads and go quiet. Eyes look like they're fucking bulging at me.
Yeah. Get alive, boy.
And I hear some like, oh, fuck no. But when they suddenly looked away, I got on the side of the wall slightly and joined in with the group of girls as they were walking out the door now that the bell had rang. And thankfully, they did not catch my ass. They were somehow laughing or snickering with their friends at that point, and they had noticed me, and I was like, thank God. And a few weeks later, or actually a few weeks ago, I told this story to Flora and Emily. Emily is Flora's sister, and I was like, hey, this random man keeps talking to me, he has a friend with me, and Emily said, who? And they said, oh, Flora's ex's cousin. And Emily, oh, that's creepy.
He's just visually disturbed at...
Like, physically and visibly disturbed at the fact, and why? Do you know him? And I said, no.
No, not at all.
And they said, does he like you? And I said, no, like, God, no. He never seems to have a relationship crush on me. Why would he? Like, maybe you have a relationship.
If he did, it would be a hard no.
No. And so, they asked a few more questions, and Emily said, oh, that's actually really creepy because, you don't know him. He has random photos of you. He's stalking you. He's going to your classrooms for 300 years. What the fuck? 3 years is excessive.
3 years is making it a mission now.
He took literally almost my whole SCI life.
Whoa! Boy, that's almost 4 years. That's so creepy.
And I'm so happy. But no, he has done nothing since that little call moment, and he definitely didn't come up to me on either of the last weeks of the senior year. And so thankfully, we're graduated now, and I don't have to deal with his ass, thankfully, hopefully, ever again.
Yep.
So, we're not done with the podcast still. Those are just some of our creepy stalker stories. As you can probably tell, it stopped raining.
Yeah, I'm so sorry those are so long, but we were just reminiscing on some creepy, scary stories. That was definitely the most creepiest.
Because we were talking
probably
about
the second or third most.
Yeah,
it's very disturbing.
So we were talking about this before the podcast, and we really wanted somewhere to share a way more in-depth story because we had.
Maybe I went more in depth in the first podcast, but the podcast that I talked about it in was someone is stalking Donny or something like that.
Somewhere
a year ago. So if you want to hear my cringy voice, and I know I'm still cringy now, you might want to watch the updated version, which is this one currently.
Yeah.
Do not watch that one from a year ago.
Because previously we were
watch at your own risk.
Well, yeah. So. We had discussed this before, obviously, as we said in the very beginning. If you're still here, thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Literally. So, we're like 50 minutes in at this point.
I know, good Lord.
So, this was just a very long story. And I don't think I had ever mentioned mine. I can't remember ever during that podcast mentioning mine. So you get a little bit of my stalker, and you get another little bit about Donny's stalker. We just wanted to go very in depth about this. But now to our second topic, pet peeves. So pet peeves, in our definition, is just something that you peeve about in some other person. The one specifically beside me, Donny. So, these are just small mini pet peeves. We do not mean to make fun of each other or belittle each other. This is just our type of humor, and we wanted to talk about the skin. A long time ago, we talked about some pet peeves about one another, and,
they were on the day we were sick.
Yeah, they were on the day we were sick. I can't remember the date, but it was over a year ago.
Yep, also over a year ago.
Yeah, also we're just basically reminiscing on old little things, but talking more.
That we used to talk about less in depth 1+ year. So, long time ago.
Yeah, this is our pet peeves about each other. So, Donny, if you...
I'd like you to go first.
Oh, okay. So, one of my pet peeves about Donny, we don't have a list over here. I'm just...
Taking off brain power.
Yeah, brain power at night. So, my dear God, I lost my train of thought. So, pet peeves. One of my pet peeves about Donny, or specifically something that they do, is, or Sydney or William, it's just collectively. When Sydney takes off her socks, she'll throw them in the hamper, and not quite make it. She'll never bundle them up. Like, when Matthew takes off my socks, he always pairs them up and throws them in the dirty clothes. But Sydney has this reoccurring habit where she'll take off a sock, take off another sock, and throw them in the hamper. But one never quite makes it. So I wake up the next morning with socks all over my fucking bed. I'm like, God damn. Because our hamper is like one that is right near my house. And so, right in my corner of the house. And so, just for preface, so when she throws one and she tries to make her best aim, she won't make it. And so I find all these damn unpaired socks, and when we do a load of laundry, I find 1 to 1 each pair missing. I find one Transformer fucking sock, and I find one black sock, and I don't find the other ones for months and months.
Yeah.
And this is how we barely have any pairs. They're like, why don't we have any pairs of socks? Because maybe they're never paired when they go in.
Yeah.
They're never there. And it's not like something I ever talk about, because it's not really a horrible habit.
No.
It's probably a horrible habit, to be honest. Because our socks go fucking missing. But, and we always get excited when we get socks. We're like, oh my God, Cindy, don't, please pair these up. And so,
we should start reminding you every time.
I know, right?
Every night before she takes us for socks. Pair
them up. Take experience from someone who has paralyzed feet, and take experience with someone who has no feet. Pair up them socks so the toesies of the paralyzed person doesn't get cold, and the air molecules of Donny doesn't freeze to death and die.
Yep.
So, and that we find the extra living pair of socks somewhere in this room. Months later.
Yep. So what that laugh was.
So yes, that is one of my pet peeves, generally about William, Duck, and Dog.
What the fuck?
Not me. William, and Sydney, and Donny. So, Donny, if you have one, go ahead.
Oh no. Trying to think of a good one. There's not many, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, not too many. I've maybe said this before in the past, but maybe when she wants to read like a topic or read educational SCI post to me for like an hour straight, and I have ADHD, so it's already hard enough for me to focus for even 2 minutes, but an hour is
stretching his limits.
It's overwhelming for me. So I'm just kind of sitting there, and she just talks and talks and talks, and it's like, babes, I get you interested, but like, god damn, for a whole hour. Yeah, she just basically talks and reads posts for an entire hour, and when I start watching something, or when I start playing a game, by minute 50, she starts like saying, no, Donny, like, listen.
I got to a really interesting part, actually.
Oh my god, that's so accurate. Yeah. So
I got the only part you weren't listening to. Damn it!
Oh my god. Because you ride for like an entire hour. No, but I don't actually get too mad. I just get a little aggravated a little bit, but normally I'm fine. But that's kind of one pet peeve that she does occasionally.
That annoys you.
Yep.
So, weirdly enough, I was going to go off another paying attention one. Donny's span of a fucking attention and the actual lookability of it. Lookability is probably not a word, but I do not care at this moment. The thing that pet peeves me the goddamn most is when we're doing our workout, we do these workouts and they're called songs. And when we do these workouts, we have specific scenes that we want them to look at. And so Donny will be playing the same game that I'm playing, Best Fiends. Best Fiends is just like a sort of matching game, and we're really addicted to it. Boom. And, while he's playing, and he's in a really good mood. Okay, Donny, look! He'll be staring dead ass at his phone.
Locked in.
Literally locked into whatever tiny move he's making. And I will look back at him, and I'll be like, Donny, did you see that? Oh, yeah, I saw that. He'll respond. And then I'll say, what? And he'll he'll try to make up some, no offense, actual bullshit about what had happened. And, I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, look. And, I'll say look again. And then, I'm looking. And then when I actually press the spacebar, he's heard the music for 5 seconds and then looked down back at his phone the minute I actually started doing the thing.
Yep.
Jesus. Okay.
We're about to end time.
Okay.
Anyway, the pet peeve is that my short attention span sucks. Thank you guys for hearing out our scary ass stories and some of our pet peeves about each other. And with that,
thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.